Ghostbusters, 20 weird but true facts you never knew. You've seen Ghostbusters dozens of times. You know every line, every scene, every ghost. But you've never noticed the secret hiding in plain sight. A behind-the-scenes feud delivered with such subtlety that even die-hard fans missed it completely. That's just the beginning. Here are 20 strange facts about Ghostbusters that will change how you watch this movie forever.
Hello, Ghostbusters.
They're here.
Hey, anybody see a ghost?
They catch the ghost that won't stay dead.
Number 1. Vigo had a serious identity crisis. The terrifying Vigo the Carpathian in Ghostbusters 2 wasn't one person. He was two. The imposing physical presence belonged to William von Homburg, a controversial German former boxer who looked like he could bench press a car. But when Vigo spoke, those bone-chilling words came from Max von Sydow, the legendary actor who made The Exorcist unforgettable.
It's the power. Holy water.
The filmmakers needed someone who looked like an ancient warlord and someone who sounded like death itself.
Suck in the guts, guys. We're the Ghostbusters. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Good. Good. Ooh, angrier. Ooh.
So they combined a boxer's body with a master thespian's voice. It was like creating Frankenstein's monster, but for movie villains. Sometimes the most terrifying characters are built from spare parts. Number 2. Ray was supposed to go completely insane. That weird moment where Ray gets possessed in Ghostbusters 2 wasn't random. It was the survivor of a much darker subplot. The original version showed Ray looking into Vigo's eyes and becoming completely possessed.
Go get her, Ray.
Turning Dan Aykroyd's lovable scientist into a dangerous madman. The deleted scenes included Ray driving Ecto-1 like a maniac through Manhattan, swerving through traffic while screaming threats about killing everyone. The studio watched this footage and realized they had accidentally created a horror movie.
There's something strange in the neighborhood.
Instead of family comedy. They cut almost all of it, leaving only that brief possession moment that confused audiences for decades. Sometimes the scariest scenes never make it to theaters.
Who are you gonna call?
Someone else.
Get her!
Number 3. A coloring book spoiled the movie. For nearly 2 decades, the only way to see Ray's deleted psychotic breakdown wasn't through bootleg footage. It was through a children's coloring book.
We got full power.
Activating forward motion control.
The official Ghostbusters 2 coloring book featured artwork that looked nothing like the actual actors. But buried within those pages was something extraordinary. Detailed illustrations of the deleted possessed Ray scenes.
Due to paranormal vulnerability.
In other words, yes.
Parents buying this innocent coloring book had no idea they were purchasing the most exclusive behind-the-scenes content in movie history.
Now, around midnight, when you're over kissing people at the Waldorf, he's gonna pop out.
Children across America were coloring in scenes that wouldn't be officially available until DVD releases decades later. Sometimes the most important movie artifacts are hiding in the toy aisle. Number 4. The fur coat scene was too weird for the first movie. That bizarre scene where a woman's fur coat comes to life and sprouts monstrous heads? It was originally written for the first Ghostbusters, but got cut for being too strange. Even in a movie featuring a giant marshmallow man, studio executives decided animated dead animal fur was somehow too unsettling. The idea sat in development limbo until Ghostbusters 2 needed more supernatural encounters. Suddenly, that rejected concept found new life as an anti-fur sketch. Environmental messaging wrapped in horror comedy. Sometimes the strangest ideas just need the right context to find their audience.
He says the Titanic just arrived.
Number 5. The Titanic almost became the Hindenburg. The ghostly Titanic scene in Ghostbusters 2 almost featured a completely different historical disaster. The original script called for the spectral Hindenburg, that massive German airship, to hover menacingly over Manhattan instead of the sunken ocean liner. Instead of rising from harbor waters, the ghostly Hindenburg would have materialized in the sky above New York, its phantom bulk casting shadows over terrified pedestrians. But the studio had concerns about geography and visual impact. Sometimes the most practical creative decisions end up being the most effective ones. Number 6. Batman destroyed Ghostbusters, and Bill Murray almost was Batman. Summer 1989 was supposed to belong to Ghostbusters 2. Then Batman happened and completely obliterated it at the box office, earning over $400 million worldwide, while Ghostbusters 2 managed barely half that.
Time there is no bat. Everywhere we would find him, we would arrest him.
Who is this guy?
Freak. Wait till they get a load of me.
You want this body?
Is this a trick?
But here's the ultimate irony. Bill Murray was actually considered for the role of Batman before Michael Keaton got it. Imagine Murray's signature deadpan delivery behind the cowl. I'm Batman, and that's terrible. Sometimes the roles we don't get end up competing with the ones we do.
The city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the sky.
Number 7. The sequel felt more like a cartoon than a movie. Fans immediately noticed that Ghostbusters 2 felt less like a sequel and more like a live-action adaptation of the real Ghostbusters animated series. The cartoon had introduced purple slime instead of green, Slimer as a friendly mascot, and more exaggerated character personalities that found their way into the sequel. The original Ghostbusters had genuine scares and adult humor. The sequel felt sanitized, designed for kids who watched the cartoon every Saturday morning. It was a bizarre case of life imitating art, imitating life. The movie spawned a cartoon that became so popular, it influenced the next movie.
Ghostbusters, please hold.
Number 8. Bill Murray absolutely hated the sequel.
You're wasting time and you're not doing something, You're not doing something positive.
Bill Murray's hatred for Ghostbusters 2 was visceral and public. Those special effects guys took over, he complained in interviews. There was too much slime and not enough of us. He felt the heart of the original, 4 guys fighting supernatural threats, had been buried under digital goo and corporate decisions. Murray's public criticism effectively killed plans for Ghostbusters 3. Studio executives weren't about to greenlight a third film when their biggest star was actively trashing the franchise. When your lead actor becomes your biggest critic, sequel plans die quickly. Number 9. Nobody actually wanted to make Ghostbusters 2.
Or maybe even better with Ghostbusters.
We're hoping for more, actually. Our greed knows no bounds on this one.
Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis never wanted Ghostbusters 2 to exist. They thought a sequel was completely unnecessary and would diminish the original's legacy. So why did they make it? Pure defensive paranoia. They were terrified that if they didn't make the sequel themselves, Sony would hand the franchise to other writers who would screw up their legacy. They reluctantly created a sequel they didn't want to prevent a sequel they definitely didn't want to see. Sometimes the best way to protect something is to leave it alone, but Hollywood rarely works that way. Number 10. The director's son delivered the movie's harshest review.
If there's something strange in the neighborhood, who you gonna call?
In Ghostbusters 2's opening scene, a bratty kid tells the Ghostbusters, "My dad says you guys are full of crap." That wasn't just another child actor, it was Jason Reitman, director Ivan Reitman's actual son. The director literally put his own child in the movie to insult his main characters. The line works on multiple levels, representing public skepticism within the movie's world and real audience doubts about the sequel. Jason would grow up to direct Ghostbusters, Afterlife decades later, but his first franchise appearance was delivering its harshest critique. Number 11. The original Ghostbusters concept was completely insane. Before Ghostbusters became the comedy we know, Ivan Reitman's original vision was bonkers. Picture this. The Ghostbusters as a massive branded corporation with franchises and headquarters, traveling to other dimensions with magic wands instead of proton packs. The interdimensional travel would have made each sequel visit different realms, and every day, medieval kingdoms, futuristic worlds, alternate realities. Instead of technological solutions, they'd use mystical weapons requiring skill and training. Thank God someone talked Reitman out of the wands. Sometimes the craziest original ideas lead to the most grounded final products. Number 12. Coca-Cola tried to murder the movie.
Ghostbusters, a huge, hilarious movie.
Coca-Cola owned Columbia Pictures and wanted to completely cancel Ghostbusters because they thought it was too expensive and risky. The soft drink giant was ready to kill what would become one of the biggest comedies of all time over budget concerns. Coke executives saw an expensive special effects movie with no guaranteed stars and a premise too weird for mainstream audiences. This is the same company that later gave us New Coke, so their track record for recognizing good ideas was questionable. Fortunately, Columbia fought back and threatened to take the project elsewhere. Number 13. Bill Murray almost missed his own movie.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You're more like a game show host.
Murray's commitment was so questionable he nearly missed the entire production. When filming began, he was literally in France, and nobody was sure he'd actually show up. Murray had a reputation for being unpredictable and didn't have an agent. When he finally arrived, he hadn't studied the script and essentially improvised his way through the entire movie. Half of Peter Venkman's most quotable dialogue was Murray making things up in real time. Sometimes the best performances come from actors who barely want to be there. Number 14. Winston got completely screwed over.
This is Winston Zedmore. He's here about the job.
Beautiful, you're hired. Ray Stantz, Pete Venkman.
Ernie Hudson was originally hired for a much larger role as an Air Force demolition expert with military experience and technical expertise. He was supposed to be the team's practical, no-nonsense member, and was even meant to get slimed instead of Peter Venkman. As production progressed, the role shrunk from co-star to supporting player to glorified cameo. The military background vanished, and Winston became a generic everyman observer appearing halfway through the movie. Hudson deserved better, and the movie would have been stronger with the character as originally conceived. Number 15. The composer hated the most famous song. Elmer Bernstein created Ghostbusters' sophisticated orchestral score but absolutely despised Ray Parker Jr. as Ghostbusters' theme song. Bernstein was a serious composer who had scored The Magnificent Seven and To Kill a Mockingbird. To him, Parker's pop theme represented everything wrong with 1980s movie marketing. The conflict represented tension between artistic integrity and commercial appeal. Bernstein's score served the story, while Parker's song served marketing. Both succeeded, but Bernstein felt the theme song overshadowed his musical work. Sometimes the most commercial elements overshadow the most artistic ones. Number 16. The theme song came from a pest control commercial. Ray Parker Jr. His inspiration for Ghostbusters came from the most mundane source possible. He watched the in-movie Ghostbusters commercial and thought they looked exactly like pest control exterminators. This observation sparked the creative breakthrough that produced one of the most recognizable movie themes in history. Parker structured the song like an actual commercial jingle. The "Who Ya Gonna Call?" hook mimics pest control Yellow Pages ads, while the verses describe ghost-busting services in the same problem-solving language exterminators use. The genius was making the supernatural seem ordinary and commercial. The most iconic movie theme of the 1980s was literally inspired by pest control advertising. Number 17. There were 50 other Ghostbusters songs. Ray Parker Jr.'s theme was chosen from an incredible field of 50 to 60 different Ghostbusters songs commissioned by various artists. Studios approached major names across every genre, hoping to create the next great movie theme song. The unused songs reportedly ranged from heavy metal anthems to disco tracks to country ballads about supernatural pest control. We'll never hear most of these alternate versions, but imagine the timeline where we got a Ghostbusters song from Madonna, Prince, or Weird Al. Sometimes the best idea wins, but those other 49 songs remain one of music's greatest mysteries. Number 18. Industrial Light and Magic said, "No thanks."
Industrial Light and Magic has been reinventing the film industry for over 35 years.
When Ghostbusters needed special effects, producers approached ILM, the legendary company behind Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark, but ILM turned them down because they were too busy with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. This rejection forced the creation of Boss Film Studios specifically for Ghostbusters effects. The new company approached the project with fresh enthusiasm and wasn't constrained by established methods. ILM's loss became movie history. Sometimes the biggest opportunities come from getting rejected by the biggest names in the business. Number 19. The director almost had a nervous breakdown over Stay-Puft.
I was very worried about the Marshmallow Man.
Ivan Reitman seriously questioned ending the movie with a giant Marshmallow Man, calling it too much of a leap in logic. During production, he found himself asking, "What's happened to my movie?" He worried audiences would reject the Marshmallow Man as too silly or disconnected from the established tone. But Reitman's anxiety proved completely unfounded. Stay-Puft became the movie's most beloved element and the franchise's most recognizable symbol. Sometimes the creative choices that terrify directors become the moments that define their careers. Number 20. Television censors created comedy gold.
This man has no...
Television censorship created some of the most unintentionally hilarious dialogue in movie history. Peter Venkman's cutting insult, "This man has no dick," became, "The man is some kind of rodent," for television broadcasts. The change was supposed to be family-friendly but ended up more absurd than the original. The censored versions developed their own cult following among fans who preferred the television edits. Some viewers grew up with the sanitized versions and were surprised by the real dialogue years later. Sometimes limitations breed creativity, and even censorship can't kill good humor. It just makes it weirder. Bonus fact. Here's one more weird fact that didn't make the list. The Ghostbusters firehouse headquarters was a real functioning firehouse, and the filmmakers had to work around actual emergency calls during filming. Hook and Ladder Company 8 in Manhattan's Tribeca neighborhood was chosen for its perfect architectural look, but it was still an active fire station. During production, real firefighters had to respond to genuine emergencies while movie crews occupied their building. Filming schedules were constantly interrupted by sirens, rushing firefighters, and departing fire trucks. The crew learned to quickly move equipment and clear the way whenever emergency calls came in. The firefighters initially treated the Hollywood invasion as an amusing novelty, but the constant disruptions became genuinely problematic as filming stretched on. Real emergency response was being complicated by fake ghost-busting equipment cluttering their workspace. This situation created a bizarre parallel between fiction and reality. The fake Ghostbusters were interfering with real first responders, just like supernatural emergencies might complicate regular municipal services in the movie's world. Sometimes real life imitates art in the most inconvenient ways possible.